Alright, it's Henry again, and this is my review of my 1 to 100 scale Leo space type. And as you can see, this is the kit completely unpainted. This is what it looks like after all the modifications and scratch building has been done, but before the painting. For those of you who didn't see my work in progress videos, I've made this kit using a 1 to 100 scale Tallgeese 3 as a base, and then just modified it into a Leo. And this particular kit I modified into the Leo space type rather than the ground type, just because I wanted to have one of each. Got the space backpack here, beam rifle, and I actually really like the way it turned out. I like it a lot more than my first Leo that I made back in 2011. So, this is what it looks like unpainted. Seeing as how it looks so awkward now, I'm going to go ahead and paint this guy and then continue with the review from there. And after about a week or so of painting, this is what the Leo space type ends up looking like. This drastically different purple color scheme rather than the green color scheme from the Leo ground type. And I really like the colors on this. Purple's kind of a difficult color to mix up. If you get the ratio to red and blue off by just a little bit, you're not going to have a very good looking purple, but I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I think the shade of purple is pretty anime accurate. Let's see, the shoulders, elbow joints, hands, feet, all those joint parts I did in a dark purple, basically just a darker shade of the main body purple. The space backpack I did in two different shades of gray, did in a kind of a light bluish gray and then a darker kind of a brownish gray. Then I got my custom Oz decals here on the shoulder, and then just generic caution markings for the rest of the decals with a nice clear yellow jewel for the camera eye. So, that's the painted kit. As far as accessories go, it doesn't have quite as many as Leo ground type, but I did make a shield, modified it just like the Leo ground type shield. I have a beam rifle and a Shorty beam rifle. The main body's pretty much the same. The only difference is the barrel length, and the Shorty doesn't have a handle on the top. Got two beam sabers, there's one of them, and the Dabra Gun. So that is all we get. And Leo space type doesn't have as many accessories as the ground type does, but all of the accessories that I made for the Leo ground type could be used on the Leo space type since they both have the exact same bodies. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into articulation. The head is on a peg, so it's got a little bit of up and down. Doesn't have any side to side at all, but a little bit up and down, and it can rotate pretty much 360. Like I said, on my first Leo that I made 2 years ago, I had the head fixed pose, but on these two I decided to make the heads, giving them some rotation. Let's see, no articulation in the torso, however, you do have pretty much a 360 degree rotation at the waist. The shoulder joints I scratch built. I didn't use the standard shoulders that came with the Tallgeese kit, and they can go out about 90 degrees, and I actually put in a extra joint inside the torso. There's a polycap down on the torso that's going to let the shoulder joint be able to go back and forth like so. Can't really see the polycap is way down in there, but it's in there and gives it a little bit more back and forth movement. The shoulder armors is pegged in. It can rotate up and down a little bit, but it doesn't really need to move because it doesn't get in the way of the shoulder mobility at all anyways. And of course, well actually, I was about to say the arms can go 360, but they really can't because of this space backpack. So you got 360 rotation below the shoulder. The elbow joints I made out of claw plate. They're scratch built. And they can't bend a full 180 degrees, but they can bend over 90, so you got about that much of a bend. As you can see, the elbow armor moves. And I found out before I painted these kits that if I had made the elbow armor fixed pose and actually attached it to the forearm, I could have bent a full 180 degrees, but with all the weapons he comes with, I don't really need a 180 degree bend, so I decided just to leave it out since I kind of liked the movable elbow armor there. So next up would be the skirt armor. The front skirts are on tiny little ball joints, so they can flip up. You can see I put a little bit of detail on the undersides of the skirt armor. So even though they don't really get in the way very much at all, they still have a little bit of mobility. Side skirts are on a peg, so they can go up and down and rotate slightly. The back skirts don't move at all, they're just fixed in place. There's not really much of a need for them to move anyway. The hips are on a ball joint, just like pretty much every other high grade, so they can go up about that far, back, out, got a little bit of side to side there. The knee joints are pretty much the exact same as the elbow joints I made, only larger, and they, unlike the elbow joints, can get a full 180 degree bend. As you can see, with that improvement over Mercurius and V8, I got rid of those awkward gaps between the knee armors when you need to bend the knee. So I think that is a definite improvement over my previous Oz Project kits. And the ankle armor just kind of floats. It's not really attached to anything. It just sits on top of the foot there. And the ankle joint is just a single ball joint, so you got side to side, front and back, and then pretty much 360 degree rotation. Oh, I forgot to mention the hands. The hands, I used the Hobby Base 1:100 scale posable hand, so pretty much perfect grade style articulation on these hands. All the fingers have the joints that can move, and the wrist is on a ball joint, so it can rotate and wiggle, and then you got an extra joint in the wrist that'll give you some more back and forth. So that just about does it for articulation. Now let's get into the weapons and accessories. Now the first weapon I'll show off will be the beam rifle. I actually think it looks pretty nice. I used the my Virgo 2's beam rifle as a base, and then added some more details, added this thingy, added the handle on the top, and then added a completely new barrel. Got a little clear jewel on the sight there on the end. And it's kind of a tight squeeze getting his fingers between the energy pack and the handle there, because that's such a small distance. I actually had to sand down the handle a bit to be able to actually hold it. But once you get the fingers in there, doesn't really have any problems holding the beam rifle at all once you get it situated. There we go. So yeah, once you get it in the hand, there's no problems holding it whatsoever. And like I said, this other arm can come around and grab hold of that top handle if you want for added stability. And the next weapon is, of course, the Shorty beam rifle. Basically the same thing as the other beam rifle, only shorter, obviously. Much shorter barrel. Doesn't have a handle on the top, just has a little sight there. But otherwise, pretty much identical. And unfortunately, it has the identical problem of the fingers not having much room, but being much smaller and much lighter, again, absolutely no problem holding on to this guy whatsoever. Next up will be the shield and Dabra Gun. And to put those on, I'll just have to remove the shoulder armor. Those just kind of peg in place. And then the shield is pretty much a standard tall geese shield on the front. I removed the eagle that was scribed on there. Got an Oz decal with some bubbles in it, which unfortunately I couldn't quite get out. And the back of the shield I modified to be more like the robot Damashi Leo's shield. Out of this box here, put the beam sabers on the side instead of in the middle. And this handle used to be over here, and I moved it down to the bottom. And this, just like shoulder armor, is going to peg right in place. And the Dabra Gun is pretty much the exact same one that was on the Leo ground type. In fact, it is the same one that was on my Leo ground type. I figured instead of making two Dabra Guns, I'd just have them share the same one. So you got the Dabra Gun mount here, that's made out of pla plate. The Dabra Gun I modified from the Tallgeese version. I added, or actually just modified this little connector piece to go up under the Dabra Gun instead of over. I offset the handle where it was right in the center. I moved it to the side and put it on a peg so it can go back and forth. I replaced this handle with a different one, and I shortened the barrel by about 1 centimeter. And just like the shield, it can simply peg right into the shoulder like so with no problem. And there you go. And you'll have to move the arm up. This handle that can pivot back and forth is actually a big help for getting him to hold onto it, because otherwise it'd be kind of tricky. But if you just get it at just the right angle, you'll be able to hold onto it no problem. And of course the shield has two beam sabers up under it that are going to fit on these little pegs down here. And I just got the standard blades that came with the high-grade Tallgeese. Used some different beam saber handles though, because the Robot Damashi Leo had round beam saber handles, unlike Tallgeese's square beam sabers. So anyway, fit that into the hand, and you might have to really squeeze that hand around it to get it to hold on there. You'd think being a beam saber it would be pretty easy to hold on to, but if you just squeeze the hand on it, it'll hold on to the beam saber just fine. And before we wrap up, I wanted to do a few size comparisons. Here's the Leo space type compared to my first Leo that I made 2 years ago. Obviously this being a Leo ground type, so you'll have to ignore the thrusters and the color difference. But you can tell there is a height difference and a difference in proportions. The new Leo is a little bit bulkier, which I like. It's a little bit shorter, which it's supposed to be. And overall, I really like the improvements I made to the my new Leo. And here is a size comparison with the 1:100 scale high-grade Tallgeese. Tallgeese being a slightly larger mobile suit, as you can see, has a height advantage over the Leo. And just to compare it to a Master Grade, here is the Master Grade Wing Gundam. Alright, that does it for my review of my 1:100 scale Leo space type. Overall, I'm really happy with the way this project turned out. In fact, I think I might be a little bit happier with this guy than I was with my Leo ground type. Even though their bodies are pretty much identical, in fact they are identical, the only difference being the color, the shoulder thrusters, and the backpack, and a few weapons. But I don't know, for some reason I like the way this one looks a little bit better. I think that purple looks really nice to me. I think it looks really anime accurate, and I think this one might be a little bit more color accurate than my Leo ground type. The knee and elbow joints are a little bit fragile, not quite as sturdy as I'd like, but functionally they work great. They work a lot better than the knee and elbow joints on my previous Oz project kit, so that's a definite improvement. The shoulder joints that I scratch built turned out great. I couldn't have asked them to work any better. They turned out really nice. Just the overall look of the kit looks nice. Didn't have to do very much cleanup on these at all. I think it looks relatively clean. There are a few imperfections on the kit here and there. You probably couldn't even tell on camera, but since I'm the one building them, I can spot them out in an instant. But compared to my other Oz project kits, the imperfections are actually pretty minimal. There's a little bit of decal silvering that happened here and there, mostly on these Oz decals. It didn't really happen much on the caution markings, but that kind of bugs me. But overall, all those complaints are just really minor nitpicks. Overall, I'm really happy with the way this guy turned out. And I can now say that I have a 1:100 scale Leo space type. And I'm sure people have made 1 to 100 scale Leo space types before, but I don't think I've ever seen one. I've seen people make them in 1 to 144 scale, but to my knowledge, I have the only 1 to 100 scale Leo space type I know of. So, but hopefully, maybe someone will watch my video and be inspired to make their own and join the club. So that about does it for this video, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.